Welcome to a new video in my home automation series, and today I received another review product from Zigbee. We tend to receive some, couple of products every year, and then actually there are two, and this is the first one I wanted to review, and this is a SPM01 energy meter. As you can see, this is a really small unit. This is the main reason I really liked it, and it's basically a current transformer with all the necessary electronics to measure the current, calculate voltage, energy used and everything, and then send this over to our smart home system. And this one uses Zigbee. So this is a Zigbee unit, and obviously it is designed for Tuya. So later in the video I'm going to show you how it works in the Tuya system. Unfortunately, it doesn't work with Sonoff, which I'm not really surprised because Sonoff doesn't have such devices. I mean, they have energy meters that are combined with a socket, but not like a separate energy meters. So the device is just not getting recognized. I mean, I tried using my NS Panel Pro, but it wasn't working. But then it does work with Zigbee to MQTT. So if you have Home Assistant and you want a very small energy meter, and maybe you want loads of them to measure individual breakers or circuits, then this is really nice. And I can't really think that you wouldn't have that much space in your consumer unit to install it next to your circuit breaker. Before we continue any further, I just wanted to show you the listing. So this is the listing. That's how much it costs at the moment. And I just want to show you some pictures of the installation. By the way, as you can see, it is rated for 110 to 240 volts and a maximum of 63 amps. And actually, let me show you the pictures. So yeah, so as you can see, it is designed to fit right next to a typical, I would say, European circuit breaker, so like the 1 DIN size circuit breaker. And I'm not really sure how that would fit in a US consumer unit, but I think it would be somewhere similar. It's just going to be sideways, not vertical, but yeah, sideways. I don't see any way how this would actually attach to the circuit breakers. There are no clips or anything like that. So, I mean, if you want to be really neat, maybe you can use a double-sided tape because there's nothing else is going to hold into the unit. And as you can see, well, you can't really see, but it shows here, you can see it here on this screen, in this screenshot as well, that there is a small arrow here on the unit, which is like here, and that actually shows the current. So if the current flows this way, then it's measuring it as a consumed electricity, and if it flows the other way around, then it's measuring it as a returned electricity. And yeah, you can install it on the top and the bottom. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. And yeah, it works in the Tuya app. And there are all sorts of alarms that you can do in the Tuya app, so that's really nice. And yeah, what else? Yeah, you can monitor your loads and everything, and you get some charts in the app as well. I have some issues with my laptop, so this message keeps popping up, and there is some words about the installation. Actually, I'm going to probably use this picture because then, as it recommends, there are two ways of installing it. So you can install it either before or after your circuit breaker. And actually both of them, I think, have some merits because so if you have a device or something which is consuming power all the time, that maybe if you install it before the breaker, and if the breaker trips, then you would notice that your consumption drops to 0. So this is how you would tell that your breaker has tripped. But if you have a circuit which may or may not consume, maybe you can just install it after the breaker, which means that if the breaker trips, then you stop receiving data from your device. So if you're using, let's say, Zigbee, MQTT, or any other system other than the Tuya app, you would be able to just monitor the data flowing in from the sensor. And let's say if you stop receiving data, then you know that the breaker has tripped. Because obviously, if you would power this unit also after after the breaker, as it's shown here, then it will lose power, so obviously it will drop from the Zigbee network. And as you can see here, also in the same picture, there are 2 leads coming out from this device, which is going to provide power. So obviously it uses the current transformer to measure current, but it uses the 2 other leads to connect to the same circuit, so it can measure voltage, and from that it calculates power consumption and energy used and also energy returned. If you have a breaker which has neutral and live poles, then you can just use those terminals. Or if you have a breaker which is just a single pole, so it only disconnects the live, then you would connect the live to you would connect the neutral wire, which is the blue wire, to a neutral bus bar. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You can see the dimensions here, and as I said, it goes all the way up to 63 amps, and the starting current is 50 milliamps. So 50 milliamps is like 5 watts in 110 and about 10 watts in 230. So that's the minimum it can measure. So really it is designed to go behind or next to circuit breakers where you have probably a load of quite a few devices. Then your consumption is likely to be more than the minimum value. And that's it. I mean, I also wanted to show you the documentation, but pretty much everything which is already mentioned in the documentation was on the website as well. So you get these wiring diagrams, and probably the only other thing I would add here is that there is this diagram here which shows you the various indications of the LED. So if it's lit, then it continuously lit, then it's connected to the Zigbee coordinator. And if it's flashing, there are these different flashing modes, and these are the pairing issues, or searching for a cloud, or communication failure, or self-checking. Well, this is just a sensor, so obviously there are nothing on it which actuates anything. There is a button here, and you can use this button. If you hold it down for 2 or 3 seconds, then you can reset the device and it goes back into pairing mode. So if I don't know if you need to switch it between coordinators, then you can do that. And I don't think that there is like a micro switch behind this. And I also find it really difficult to push this button. So actually I use this screwdriver to try to push against it, but it definitely works. But again, you have to do it once, because once you link this to your Zigbee coordinator, then that's it. You don't really have to do anything. As soon as it's powered, it just starts measuring, and yeah, it does all the measuring. And I mean, I can show you quickly the MQTT Explorer, how it looks like, but it measures the usual things that you would expect. So let me just switch back to my screen. So it measures the current, the energy used. Sorry, that's the accumulated kilowatt hours energy. So the current is amps, and then you have the power. So it's 56 watts at the moment. And then the produced energy is basically the returned energy, which is 0, here, and then the line voltage is 233.9 volts. And again, the energy and the produced energy is an accumulative number. So obviously it's 0 when you start using the device, and it just keeps counting up. And that's pretty much what it measures. And within the app, within the Tuya Smart app, there are all sorts of triggers that you can set on low voltage, current, and power used, and there is an interesting balance functionality as well. But I'm going to talk about that a little bit later once I get to that section. And maybe just one more word about the installation. So for this review video, I'm using this extension lead, which I used 3 separate cores, so I can measure current just like this one. So this end is terminated in a normal plug, and that end is just a socket, and this goes to my laptop, and that basically just powers my laptop, second screen, docking station, and everything. And as you can see, I had a single cable, so in this case the live wire or probably the live wire, because in the European plug you can never know which one is live and neutral. But anyway, so this is connected, and then I've used the 2 wires here, which is supplied with this unit to power the unit itself. So it's connected to the same live and neutral inside this plug. So the installation is really simple, and I've already gone through the diagrams how the typical installation looks like in a consumer unit. But maybe you can even hide this in an extension lead if you have that much space. I mean, it's a really small unit. That's the that is the main reason I really like this when I've seen the listing. So I've installed the energy meter in my Tuya app, and actually I'm still using my where it is, BWIS1 as a Zigbee gateway. And you can see that this was the default name for this energy meter, so SPM011PN, so one phase, I guess that's what it means. And if you go into the screen, actually it looks, it's a fairly good screen because there's a good amount of information here. And let's just digest this screen from the top. So you see the total energy usage in kilowatt hours. And obviously, I mean, as you can see now, it's connected to a plug, and yeah, so the live wire is going through it, and so this plug is connected to my computer, so that's running my laptop, my second screen, the docking station, that sort of stuff. So it's not really using an awful lot of power at the moment, and it's been running for like I don't know, I think since yesterday. So since that, it has accumulated 0.37 kilowatt hours. And you can see it here, it says the forward energy, active energy. So that also shows that it actually measures, it would measure the reverse energy if this would be connected to a solar panel. And you can see it down here as well that it says total reverse energy. So that's always going to be 0 because obviously my laptop is not generating any power as far as I know. So that's on the top, and then you can see the a little bit of history here as well. Yeah, if I click on it, it goes to a separate screen. So you can see it's like an hourly breakdown of the energy usage, and you can see that for the current hour, it's been using 0.03 kilowatt hours. And if I click on it, then you get the same screen in. Same information in bigger in full screen. And you can see you can get the hourly usage, and then you can get the monthly. When you go to the month, then you get the daily usage. So obviously, again, I don't have an awful lot of history. And if you go to the year, then you get a monthly usage. So I think it's quite nice. It's very easy to understand this screen and just have a quick overview of your usage. And in the middle section, you have the current amps, the active power, which is shown in kilowatt hours. I think it would make more sense for watt hours. But again, this is meant to be connected to a main circuit breaker. So I think it is designed to measure like, higher consumptions. But still, I mean, it is a fairly 58 watts, 50 watts. So it seems to be measuring such a low current as well. I mean, it's, okay, 300 milliamps. So the sensitivity is definitely there, and it's able to measure lower power. So I'm quite happy with that. And it also shows the voltage, and then let me just explain the rest of it. Because there is this interesting functionality here which says, you see this balance, it says balance kilowatt hours, and if I go to if I click on this charge button, which is down here, then I get to this screen, which this top part is, I think, is decoration, these all stars. So you can switch on this prepayment option, and I think this is it's similar to, sometimes you have these prepayment meters. Then you have to go into the electricity and you have to charge it up with a certain kilowatt hours usage. And then this can basically keep track of that. So at the moment I have 10.65 kilowatt hours of balance available. And as I use electricity, this gets reduced. And if I want to top up my meter, then I can click here and I say that, okay, I have purchased let's say 10 kilowatt hours of energy, and then I just have to wait for a couple of seconds, and yeah, and now it increased my balance by 10 kilowatt hours. And you also have these charge records here. So these are, how much I've added to my balance. It's an interesting function. I mean, certainly I know that, yeah, there are regions, and I think, well, especially in some countries, they use prepaid meter for, problematic clients or yeah, users who have problems paying the monthly balance. So now you can keep track of your balance here, and also keep track of how much you paid for it. I mean, I guess those guys would not be buying this Zigbee stuff, but anyway, it's there, so you have a history as well, and then you can also reset all your measurements. And it says here that it would reset all the accumulated balance, so I guess that would also apply to this main figure, which you can see up here. So that's fine, interesting functionality. Maybe there is a good use case for that if you want to just measure like a certain device, like let's say that instead of measuring by time, you say that, okay, I want to see how much time it takes for this device to consume, I don't know, 50 kilowatt hours. And then you can just set the balance, and then it will keep track of that balance. It's basically like a memory of the, the total value. Anyway, besides this, we have settings, and we have an awful lot of different alarms that you can set here. So first of all, we have an alarm record, so we can see all the alarms that get triggered, and the alarms are basically everything below that. So you can set an alarm on high power. So if there is an excess power drawn through this device, as you can see, it goes all the way up to 25 kilowatts. I mean, in the software. You have this abnormal temperature alarm. So again, it's the internal temperature sensor. Actually, I have to look up this information because it doesn't show any temperature anywhere here. So let me just, maybe I'm just going to look and then leave a description here if this has a temperature sensor at all. And then you can also set an alarm or overcurrent, and you can also set on over voltage. And of course, you can change all these values, and you can just enable and disable them. You can also set one on under voltage, and you can also set a negative active power. I'm not sure why you would have this. I mean, actually, no, it's not bad. So you can have this, and then it will create an alarm every time you're generating excess electricity. For example, if you install it on your main breaker, so you can just monitor whether electricity is going into your house or it's going back to the grid. And you can also have an insufficient balance alarm. And that basically goes back to this functionality here. So now it's set to 10 kilowatt hours. So once this balance drops below 10 kilowatt hours, then you get a notification, this insufficient balance alarm. So again, for these prepaid scenarios, that would be a notification for you to, go and get some more energy before you run out of electricity. And then you have this bottom one, and I couldn't figure out what this does because I don't know, it just doesn't make sense for me. Maybe it's related to the alarm, to the balance, but every time I enable this one, this alarm triggers, or at least it triggered immediately. And whenever any alarm triggers, then this central screen here, which is the white screen, changes to the alarm, so it becomes red, and then it shows the alarm text. And I have to tell, the small leaflet which is provided with this product doesn't really explain any of these functions. I mean, again, it makes sense for most of it, but for this area reach, I can't really figure out how this would be relevant, especially that you can set up this balance, but every time you are dealing with units of energy instead of currency. So yeah, I mean, you have a balance which is energy. How it is related to, like, money or payment, I'm not really sure. Maybe there is a, maybe there are some, this is a generic screen and there are other devices which have, you know, slightly more functionality. But that's pretty much it. If I go to the settings, I'm not really going to, well, we are not going to see anything here. I mean, obviously you can have this usual name and location screen, and you can see the automations, and then you can share the device, you can group them together, although there are no actions on this, so I'm not sure why you would group them together. Yeah, you can't really control this. But I guess, you know, these are just generic features. And as usual, let's go into the scenes, because the supported actions are actually pretty good with this device. So let me see the triggers. So when the device status changes, SPM meter. So there is an awful lot of things here that you can do. So you can create a trigger when the total active energy goes above a certain limit. So this is the, you know, the accumulated total. So this is not the one that resets monthly or daily. So if you want to do anything with these, you need to revisit this scene and then change this. And then you can also create an active, that's also nice. So you can create a scene on any of the alarms, which is nice. It has a lot of not availables, but then you see all the functions here that we can set on the settings page. So that's nice. Again, if there is an under voltage, if there is like a high power alarm. So this is where you can set kilowatt hours or, you know, over current. Then if this one is connected to a smart breaker, then you can just disable the breaker and then, you know, just kill the circuit. So these are good. Okay, yeah, if you switch this prepayment option, you can create one. You can create one when the energy balance is reset. You can create one on the balance as well. So it's the same value that you see on the screen. So you can just have an extra option here. For example, you can set up a scene which sends you a notification, and you also have these charges here as well. So again, whenever you charge up your device, you can set a scene. I'm not really sure why you would use that, but you know, decent set of functions, and I think there are a lot that can be used. So now let's see on the other side. So if I just set up a simple automation, what can we do with this device? Which I don't think it's going to be a lot. So again, we can switch the prepayment based on some scene. I'm really not sure if this is going to be used, or you can reset it. Again, not awfully useful. And you can also charge up the device, which, yeah, maybe you can do that. You can have a switch which you press and then it adds 10 kilowatt hours to the balance. Could be. But again, this is a sensor, this is not really an action device, so I did not expect an awful lot here on the action side, but the triggers are good. So I think there is a decent set of functions, and you can set up and you can create a lot of very useful scenes with this device. And I'm going to show you how this nice unit looks like in Zigbee to MQTT. And so as you can see here from the Zigbee to MQTT page, so this SPM01 module is supported already, but I had to update my Zigbee to MQTT in order for this to work. And just like it happened with, I don't remember which device, but after I've updated the Zigbee to MQTT, it's the UI is not loading, but it is working because I'm receiving the messages, as you can see it here. Actually, I did register the device or add it to the Zigbee to MQTT network before I updated it. So obviously it was showing that it's not supported. And now after the update, I'm getting the information. So you can see the ID, I haven't even renamed it. But regardless, it is working. And I guess in a couple of days, I would just restart the server because then usually the UI comes back. But in order to test that the thing is working, I think you know, this is sufficient enough, because you can see the messages that we basically get all the information that we get on the Tuya screen as well. So we get the current, which is 420 milliamps, and we have the energy, so that's 0.4 kilowatt hours. We have a link quality, we have the power, so that's 51 watt. We have the produced energy, which is 0 kilowatt hours, because I'm only consuming through this device at the moment. And we also have a voltage, which is 236 volts. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And I mean, you can read the documentation as well. I think there are a few other details here. You can calibrate the the energy metering. You can change the precision as well. But yeah, the same for the current, and you can also calibrate the current. So I guess yeah, you just have to send in a value that you want the unit to show. So you would need to calibrate with a known current or a known energy consumption or wattage. And that's it. Yeah, and then you can see the values that it exposes, but that's the same thing that we have seen on the MQTT Explorer already. So I think that would be my review of this Zigbee Smart SPM01 Zigbee Smart Energy Sensor. I really like this unit, as I said, mostly because of the small size and how neatly it integrates with a 1-DIN circuit breaker. So if you are interested in this, I'm going to leave purchasing links in the video description. But I think that will be all for today. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.